Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Senator Bob Day is on the line. Senator, how are you?
Oh, bonjour, ça va?
Comment ça va, mon ami?
Yeah, well, parlez-vous de long time? We haven't spoken for a while, Jeremy.
How is your day?
Oh, so far so good. It's been a busy start to the year. I went to into a couple of funerals. Even you know, it's like if you don't go to other men's funerals, they won't come to yours. So
okay, I don't know. I know exactly what you mean, but I find it sad that so many people I know or people I grew up with are no longer with us. And I think to myself, I don't know. It's not a good sign.
No, well, we're all busy. No rest for the righteous. I have a bit of a different take on. I see some of your guests say no rest for the wicked, but I say, hey, I'm from Adelaide, city of churches. We say no rest for the righteous. So,
I think that's a good thing. That's a good
Fascinating
thing.
Listening to Andrew. You know the old saying, never trust a skinny chef.
Yes.
And that one about the restaurant, they used to say that, no one goes to that restaurant anymore. It's too crowded.
Well, I don't think you're going to see that too much.
No. What's the art of hospitality? To make people feel at home.
Yes.
When you wish they were.
I remember Balázs Varga, who used to own Deckers before I did. He was a Hungarian and spoke beautiful English, but he amused himself no end by welcoming people at the door, and he would say something like, pull yourself off at the bar and feel yourself at home. And they would, they sort of look at him and say, yes, Balázs, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, well, the old saying, better to admit you've walked through the wrong door than spend the rest of your life in the wrong room.
Yeah, that's
you know, just sometimes it's best to admit. But look, talking about dancing, listening to your story, dancing with famous people, and I love that old story about Sir Thomas Beecham, who was the conductor of the London Symphony Orchestra, and he was at a famous ball and got dancing with this young lady, and he knew she looked familiar, but he couldn't remember what her name was, and he was racking his brain, so he sort of drew on that old favourite sort of opening line. He said, so what's your father doing these days? He thought that would help trigger, what is her name. And she says, he's still the king. It was Princess Margaret, and
oh dear, how cruel!
So that was a poor old Sir Thomas.
You just hope that the world would open up and swallow you.
Oh, wouldn't you? Yeah. No, he's still dear.
He's still the king.
But talking about Italy, about how many changes of government there have been. That Giorgia Meloni, I think John Bruning mentioned her, and they say governing Italy is absolutely impossible and totally unnecessary. There was that great old story about, heaven and hell. They say, heaven's not up there and hell's not down there. Heaven and hell is Europe. Heaven in Europe is when the Germans are the mechanics, the French are the cooks, the English are the policemen, the Italians are the lovers, and the Swiss are the administrators.
Yeah. Tell me what hell is.
Hell is when the French are the mechanics, the English are the cooks, the Swiss are the lovers, the Italians are the administrators, and the Germans are the policemen. Anyone that knows anything about Europe could relate to that.
I must look that up and use it again. I think that's truly wonderful.
Yeah. When you know Europeans, you go, yep, they're good at some things, but not so good at those others. But,
I was watching or listening to the Senate the other day, and Jackie Lambie. And
yes,
I've had her on the show. She's a real
character.
character.
Jackie, yep.
Anyway,
she and I were elected on the same day, 2013.
Well, she's she's different. She's cut from a different kind of cloth to
Sure
most
is,
of the
yeah.
politicians that you would imagine. But apparently she is the most successful, when I say no, she's the most popular politician in the country.
Yep.
You know, and that goes to show you, probably a bit like Trump, you really do have to be different in order for people to sort of recognize you.
You stand out from the crowd, that's all. Just it doesn't matter. And Nick Xenophon used to do that, you know, a new stunt every day. People didn't really understand what he was on about, but it was recollection, name recognition. If people know who you are, and you're not Jackie's like, she's always angry.
Yes,
you know, she's angry. She's always been angry. She was angry at the army for not looking after when she had an injury, and she was angry at all these men that, you know, she had that didn't marry her, and she was angry at the Liberal. She's angry at the Liberal Party because they didn't pre-select her after all her hard work, so she joined Clive Palmer. And no, she used to come into my office, and you know, we used to have heart-to-hearts about various things. I could tell you a few stories. We went to dinner once at the Lodge, Jackie and I and David Lionhelm, and Malcolm Turnbull tried to host a dinner, and Jackie, being Jackie, launched into a tirade. "You're all bloody corrupt. That's what you are. You're all bloody corrupt. I'm sick of all this." And she jumped up, and her and Glenn Lazarus, the rugby player who was smirking away, he jumped up and said, "Oh, I'm with her." So off they went to McDonald's.
I love it.
It was very, very funny. But
she's just sort of down to earth. But what she was saying, I wanted to talk to you about
unfair dismissal or something.
No, but apparently she had, I don't know how many office people a senator has, but clearly there's a staff who are employed. Yeah. And she had employed this particular person and continually late for work, would sit around in the office, according to her account to the Senate, for which I don't think she can be sued, but I have to be careful because I probably can. Anyway, she sat around, this employee, doing her nails all day. And he just came to the conclusion that she came to the conclusion this is not going to work. And she sacked it, only to find out that the girl had gone off and got herself a lawyer and had hit the senator and her office with a wrongful dismissal suit. Now, I still don't understand. I mean, the vast majority of employers are really good, worthwhile people who enjoy and need and support good workers. But, you know, the whole wrong...
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Wrongful dismissal thing is built on the premise that the employer is a crook. He's out to exploit you. And I don't know where...
if you're successful, then it must be you either, you know, ripped off the public or exploited your workforce, or probably both if you're a successful business person. Unfair dismissal, it's just a symptom. It's not the deeper illness are these unfair dismissal laws. And the old saying that an impediment to fire is an impediment to hire.
Of course it is.
If you can't fire someone, then you're not going to hire them. So a lot of employers now, lots of small business, as we know, small business is the engine room of the economy. And you ask any small business owner, you know, they're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you say to them, why don't you employ some people to help you? And they say, you must be joking. What, with all the unfair, if I take them on and they don't work out, or they're lazy, I can't sack them, I get sued.
Yeah.
So unless you can fire someone, then you're not going to hire them.
Can't the Labor Party see that? Les is with me, Senator.
And I was just going to make comment about the ABC's dilemma at the moment with this Antoinette Latouf. You know, when you have a short-term contract of 4 days, And then they discovered that in her background, her Facebook page, she's made derogatory anti-Semitic comments, which didn't suit the ABC, which is a bit of a shock horror, actually.
Surprise.
Where the ABC sits on these issues. And then the amount of time this is now going to, pervade the court system. And who knows, at the end of the day, the Australian taxpayer is going to wear the burden of it all.
And this is all for a 4-day contract. It would be simpler just to pay her out the 4 days and say goodbye.
Oh, well, it's probably what they will end up doing. But, it's that schadenfreude. It couldn't happen to a nicer organisation than the ABC, but it's just symptomatic. I mean, this is why Donald Trump has been so successful. I mean, Winston Churchill used to have to deal with the American Secretary of State, a guy called John Foster Dulles.
Oh, yes.
And he used to say that John Foster Dulles is the only bull who carries around his own china shop.
I love it.
And Donald Trump is a bit like that. He carries around his own china shop, And I disagree with John Bruno a bit on what he says about Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump was already we've seen him. He's been president for 4 years already.
Yeah.
So he's not an unknown quantity. Yeah. There were no wars, and both Vladimir Putin and Hamas have both admitted that had Donald Trump been president, they wouldn't have started, both the Ukraine war and the attack on Israel and so on.
And Bob, can I just interject briefly, very short interjection,
Sure.
that when Putin raised his ugly head about the Ukraine, Trump said, if you bomb the Ukraine, I'll bomb Moscow. That ended the conversation, didn't it? And there was no problem with the Ukraine until the Biden administration. And now
Donald Trump's come up with this, pulled this rabbit out of the hat with Gaza, coming up with the only. Look, there's an old story. I don't know whether you've got time. There's an old story about this divine messenger appeared to a peasant farmer one day out in a paddock, and he says, "You have been chosen. That whatever you wish for, it will be granted." And the farmer was shocked and, beamed, "Oh, this is great." But the messenger said, "But there's only one condition, that whatever you wish for, your neighbour will be granted double." Huh. So the farmer smiled and he said, "Oh," because he hated his neighbour. And he said, "So if I ask for a ton of gold, does that mean my neighbour gets 2 tons of gold?" And the messenger said, "Yes, that's true. And if I ask for an extra 1,000 acres of land, my neighbour's going to get 2,000. Yes, that's right. Oh, well," the farmer thought, and then all of a sudden this smile appeared and he thought, "Aha, I know the solution." And the farmer said, "I've got it. Put out one of my eyes." Knowing that, obviously what would happen to his... Now, this war between Palestinians and the Palestinians and Hamas and all them and their supporters and so on, they are like that farmer. They so despise Israel so much that they'd rather sacrifice their own future than see. I mean, John's immediately that this invokes this ethnic cleansing. Now, relocating large groups of people from hostile areas into more conducive environment is not. That's not Serbia and Milosevic, where they kill the people, and it's been very successful. And you can look it up. The Lausanne Convention in the 1920s, where they had big problems in Turkey and Greece, where there were a lot of Christians in Turkey and a lot of Muslims in Greece. So they agreed to relocate, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Greek Muslims all had to go to Turkey, and hundreds of thousands of Turkish Christians all had to go to Greece. The same happened with Pakistan and India. There were massive transfers of populations, and it is not ethnic cleansing to relocate, and it's happened many times over the centuries. Now, when you think there were 2 million Palestinians, Egypt has got over 100 million people. Even if they took half, that's only 1%. And there are 20 Arab? Les, are there 20 Arab countries in the world, something like that?
So yeah.
Yeah, and the population of Arab population of these 20 countries about 400 million. So even if they took 100,000 each. The 20 countries, that's still only 0.5%. Now, it's ethnic cleansing, you can't do that. Give them the option.
Yes.
So, Donald Trump will give to every Palestinian and say, look, here's $1 million, or here's, $500,000 to go and start, find a better life. And of course, America's very influential with Egypt. Egypt can't survive without American aid. All this, and they rely on the Americans for travel and for aid and for all sorts of things.
Jordan,
the banking system.
Yeah, no, true. Jordan and Egypt are totally reliant upon American aid. Tony's waving the clock in the air.
Oh, so okay, no worries.
It's very subtle.
Yep.
But I'm sorry I was late getting to you.
Not a problem.
Just
we can
one of those
continue
mornings.
this next time.
Yep. No, wonderful to talk to you, and I love the way you think. I really do.
Okay. God bless you, Jeremy. Thanks
Cheers,
very
Bob.
much.
Enjoy the weekend.
All the best, Les.
Cheers. Bye now.
All the best. Senator Bob Day.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.